Alright, hello citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel here once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review. So, who walked out the Iron Survivor? Who's got a shot at the NXT Women's Championship and the NXT Championship? And who met their deadline? And let's find out as we review NXT Deadline from last night. As always, I'm not professional wrestling reviewer and analyst, just a man who enjoys a good time. And I definitely had a good time watching this show. So I missed out on last year's deadline. Catching it this year, so this will be my first experience, not just with a deadline event, but also with the Iron Survivor Challenge match, which is kind of the main gimmick, at least in terms of this show. It's got the gimmick match of that on there. But nevertheless, without further ado, let's get right into it. If you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of already know how this works. If you haven't, I'm going to be talking about what I liked and what I disliked about the event and each match, and I'm going to go match by match. Starting with the opener, starting with the pre-show match. This match didn't take place on the card, but it took place instead on the pre-show, and that's Axiom battling and defeating Nathan Fraser. I missed that match, so we're not gonna obviously comment on that. But now we start off with the NXT North American Championship as Dirty Dominic Mysterio seeks to defend the championship against Dragon Lee. So originally it was Wesley in this spot, but because Wesley is injured, he has to get back surgery, so he'll be out for 8 months to about a year, possibly longer. So, of course, I said before in my predictions, but I'll say it again, wishing a very speedy recovery to Wesley. But nevertheless, Dragon Lee stepping up, taking place. Rey Mysterio not only accompanying Dragon Lee to the ring, but then joining them on commentary. Joining Booker T and Vic Joseph, and admittedly, he quite a bit of squabbling on commentary, mainly between like Booker T and Rey Mysterio. So of course Booker T, the commentary dynamic, and this is something that happens quite a bit when it comes to pro wrestling, and it's something that is kind of hit or miss. So Booker T is supposed to be a bit more of like the heel commentator, favoring more so the heels, kind of putting down the baby faces and stuff. And then Vic Joseph is supposed to be more the more like the face commentator, supposed to be a bit more of like the straight man. It's not unlike say Michael Cole and like Taz and or Corey Graves or like Jim Ross, Jerry Lawler, but it did get kind of annoying with Rey Mysterio there, with like the blatant like sucking up to a lot of the heels that Booker T did, which of course he's kind of just doing his job, and Booker T is still very entertaining, but it did get kind of grating when it comes to this match, and some of the interactions were kind of funny, but otherwise it did get kind of much at points. I think it didn't totally drag down the commentary, but the dynamic was just kind of. It was a bit much, at least for me. But nevertheless, as Dirty Dom and Dragon Lee, he did pretty well against each other, and Dragon Lee even picking up the win. And like it was kind of on an unexpected move, a move that had seemingly was a transition move, but then that ended up winning him the match. I forget the exact name of the move, but essentially planning him. It's essentially almost I guess like a Hurricane Rana mix with almost a Scorpion Death Drop. I think that's probably the best way I can describe it. But so Dragon Lee actually won the match off of that. I didn't expect that to be the finish, so it made me think maybe Dom got injured or something. But nope. I hope that was just the finish. Well, congrats to Dragon Lee for picking up the win over Dirty Dom. But something interesting afterwards is Dom apparently was upset that the Judgment Day wasn't there and didn't have his bag, and that was called on commentary. by Vic Joseph. Like, hey, there's no Judgment Day. Hey, where's the Judgment Day? There's no Damian. There's no Finn. There's no JD. There's no Rhea Ripley. Judgment Day nowhere to be found. And Dom complaining afterwards. And it is an interesting dynamic. The fact that Dom can't defend his title without the Judgment Day. Hey, some people were complaining about it, but that's characterization for you. So, what will the follow of this be? We'll find out. But I guess what this means is that Dragon Lee is probably going to stay on the NXT brand for a bit, or he might still go to SmackDown. The thing is though, I'm not really, and this might be just me, but I'm not the biggest fan of they're champions in NXT, but they're also on the main roster. Like the champions of NXT, I feel like should stay in NXT. Now, nothing wrong with like one-offs or so, such as like Braun Breaker being on Raw and defending and trying to gain back the NXT championship from Dolph Ziggler for that little bit that Dolph Ziggler was NXT champion, which I'm sure a bunch of you forgot until I mentioned it just now. But otherwise, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but maybe that is the case. Maybe they do still want Dragon Lee to be on the main roster, or perhaps Dragon Lee will drop the title soon. But I also don't want them to just drop it just because, like Solo Sikoa did when he got called up last year. But nevertheless, congrats to Dragon Lee on the win, and pretty solid match for the most part. Dragon Lee even getting like busted open in the mouth throughout the course of it, and that one kind of tree of woe spot to the outside, where both of them spills the outside, was also pretty cool. But then next up, the first Iron Survivor Challenge. The women are up first as it is Blair Davenport, or Tiffany Stratton, Lash Legend, Helani Jordan, and Fallon Henley. So Davenport and Henley start off the match, and I'll kind of just talk about what I think of the concept of the Iron Survivor Challenge in the case of this match. Actually, I won't really bring it up for the men's, only because then it would be a bit redundant, but kind of my thoughts on the Iron Survivor Challenge match and like the concept of it and the structure of it. I think it works for the most part. There's a couple things I probably would change or tweak, at least for me personally, but I think it's an interesting concept. So it essentially is like the championship scramble match. You remember that they did that for like a little bit back, I think in like 2009 in WWE. So it's essentially that mixed almost with like the I believe the King of the Mountain match from TNA, where they went into the penalty box. So essentially, when someone is pinned, they go into the penalty box for 90 seconds and then come back out. And then go back in, and whoever scores the most falls wins. And so, kind of in that vein. And thankfully, it doesn't have like that interim champion kind of ordeal with the championship scramble. Like that, I think having interim type champion, like I think they just made it a bit too confusing. But this I think has legs. My only kind of nitpicks, I guess, is this is just me, but them starting off with all five instead of them coming out like one by one in 5-minute intervals. So we'll start off with Fallon Henley and Blair Davenport. Then after the first 5 minutes, Tiffany Stratton came out. Then Lash Legend came out, and then Fallon Henley came out. Not Fallon Henley. Kalani Jordan came out. Actually, I got the order wrong. So it was Davenport, then Henley, then and Stratton, then Kalani Jordan, then Lash Legend. And sorry, I got the order wrong, but I think if it started with all five, at least for me, I think it could be a tad bit more interesting. But it also is interesting them essentially having like a one-on-ones or triple threats or fatal four-way with somebody in the penalty box, and they do a couple spots within the penalty box, which we'll get to. But the other thing is why isn't it counting down? Why is it counting up to 25 minutes? Like if it counted down from 25 minutes, Then when it hit the 20-minute mark, then the next person came out. Then when it hit the 15-minute mark, somebody comes out. Then when it hit the 10-minute mark, somebody comes out. But instead, it counted up. It started from 0 and then counted up to 25. That is like an even smaller nitpick than the other one. That's really just more of a preference thing on my part. But nevertheless, I think for the most part they still did make it work, and the match was still pretty fun for the most part. Blair Davenport ultimately picking out the win, but some cool spots here. A couple things to note though. For starters, Kalani Jordan got nothing. She got no points. Like, I knew she wasn't winning this match, but man, she got no points. And so Blair Davenport scored the first fall, and then on Fallon Henley. And then Fallon Henley scored a fall. Then Lash Legend scored two falls at the same time after chokeslam powerbomb spot, which they set it up a big. Like, they were all on the top rope. They were gonna do like the big powerbomb spot where everybody falls down, but instead Lash still had to get the other two. But she took them out both at the same time and got 2 falls at once. So that was pretty cool. Also, Stratton and Henley were in the penalty box together, and of course, her feuding. Tiffany Stratton and Fallon Henley have been feuding for a bit, stemming back from Fallon Henley dressing up as Tiffany Stratton for Halloween, I've seen bigger feuds started over less, but need I remind you all that one of the WrestleMania feuds between Edge and Booker T started over a shampoo commercial. But nevertheless, the metaphor does show up because of course they do. So they try to block it. They try to block it in, but they escape out of the top. I think Fallon Henley escapes out of the top and then dives onto all of them, which was pretty cool. Stratton does hit the next fall on Lash Legend, so I think if I'm not mistaken, and Stratton got off the moonsault. I think she did hit both. I think she was aiming for Lash Legend and I believe Fallon Henley, but Legend caught it and Tiffany pinned her. Then it was tied for a bit. Lash Legend had 2 points, and then Blair Davenport also had 2 points. It's ultimately Blair Davenport hitting the knee on Fallon Henley to get the 3rd point. And Lash Legend was still in the penalty box, and I think this was pretty cool as well. Like, it was counting down, like that kind of nail biting moments of, oh crap, Legend's no longer in the lead, but she's only got a few seconds, but there's only a few seconds left on the clock, so then Legend does come out, tries to hit the pin on Davenport, but Davenport runs out. She runs out the clock. Now theoretically, I know it contributes to the spot, but theoretically, Legend should just like grab someone else like Jordan or Stratton and went for the pin on them. But nevertheless, Blair Davenport actually picks up the win, so she will face Lyra Valkyria at New Year's Evil for the NXT Women's Championship. So congrats to her in the match. It was pretty fun for the most part. But then next up, Carmelo Hayes looks to get a measure of revenge and for Trick Williams and for being framed as he goes up against Lexis King. And Hayes ultimately does defeat King, and more so to further the story, they're kind of doing a whole are they in cahoots, are they not kind of thing, and Lexis King kind of like stirring the pot, saying, "Hey, me and Carmelo Hayes, we took out Trick Williams together," and I guess I was wrong in my predictions. I guess it's not confirmed whether or not Lexis King attacked Trick Williams. I thought it was, but it turns out I was wrong about that. But ultimately, Carmelo Hayes does put away Lexis King. But Lexis King says, for the record, I didn't attack Trick Williams. But thanks for the PLE spot, which you can't blame his honesty. So now I guess back to square one. Who attacked Trick Williams? The mystery continues to. Excuse me. Ooh, my goodness. the mystery continues to unravel as to who exactly attacked Trick Williams. And some eyes are still on Mello, but for now, Lexus King said he didn't do it, so we'll see. But then next up, speaking of which, was the men's Iron Survivor Challenge featuring Trick Williams. So it was Trick Williams, Dijak, Josh Briggs, Braun Breaker, and Tyler Bates. So it starts off with Dijak and Josh Briggs. Then Tyler Bates shows up, then Trick Williams shows up, then Braun Breaker, and this match was a whole lot of fun. For starters, and I'm kind of going. Thankfully, the wiki here has the who scored what points. And so Josh Briggs scored the first fall with a Feast Your Eyes, and then he scored it on Josh Briggs, and then Josh Briggs scored a fall on Dijak with the lariat, pretty much like clothesline from hell esque. Move, and they pointed out, which makes sense because JBL did nominate Josh Briggs for the match. Which also shout out to pretty cool concept, having like some of like the legends and stuff nominate certain superstars for the Iron Survivor Challenge. Granted, it's all storyline, but I think that was a pretty cool concept. But yeah, so. Josh Briggs putting away Dijak, then Tyler Bates scoring some points, and he pinned Dijak with the Schoolboy, and then pinned Trick Williams with the Tyler Driver 97, which Tyler Bates he called that man up to the main roster already. Like his strength is incredible. He definitely is a big, strong boy. And then Braun Breaker comes in and absolutely cleans house. I was pretty much scoring 3 falls in a span of like 40 seconds. He spears Josh Briggs. He spears Tyler Bates. And he spears So Trick Williams is in the penalty box, but he spears Josh Briggs, he spears Tyler Bates, he spears Dijak out of the air and pins them all. Braun Breaker absolutely cleans house, which it was pretty cool. Like Braun Breaker just coming in, just annihilating stuff. Then Dijak shows up and scores the next point hanging with the spinning big boots onto Trick Williams, and then Tyler Bates It scores the next fall after a really cool Frankenstein into a sit-up powerbomb move. So, Braun Breaker starts up with Dijak on the top rope, then nails the Frankensteiner, not the Hurricane Rana, the Frankensteiner. So he nails the Frankensteiner onto Dijak, and then Tyler Bates kind of catches him with the powerbomb in order to get the point there. Braun Breaker is rather upset about his then and they do. And the next points are scored with a pretty cool like double moonsault spot. So Dijak and Josh Briggs kind of have a bit of a temporary alliance for the most part. So then Dijak hits the moonsault on Trick Williams. Then Josh Briggs hits the moonsault on Braun Breaker. So they are into the penalty box, but they score the points. So Trick Williams has nothing on the board. How will he overcome them? I'm glad you asked. So, Trick Williams gets out, pins Josh Briggs and Dijak, both with Schoolboys, and then pins Tyler Bates. It says with the jackknife hold, and then Trick Williams has 3 points, and finally the last man, and Braun Breaker goes for the spear. Trick Williams hits the knee, and to not only put Braun Breaker in the penalty box, but it doesn't matter because the clock's about to run out. And just like within like the last 10 seconds, which was pretty cool, or the last 8 seconds, I believe, Trick nails the knee and pins Braun Breaker in order to become the Iron Survivor. So that kind of like final moments of cleaning house and Trick Williams scoring like 4 points in a matter of moments was really cool. And the crowd definitely into him. Like at first I was scared because he wasn't. I'm like, wow, they're not going to pull the trigger on Trick Williams? Nope, I was just getting started. He indeed whooped that trick. And pretty cool like spots and stuff at the end. And shoot, Drew, maybe you should have tried that at Clash of the Castle against Roman. Maybe you wouldn't be, maybe you would have been champion. You wouldn't have been complaining so much. But nevertheless, congrats to Trick Williams. On the win, and definitely a big win for him here. So he will be facing the NXT champion at New Year's Evil. Who will it be? We will find out. But next up in a steel cage match, Roxanne Perez seeks to finally put away Kiana James. These two have been going at it for quite a bit. It to this point, and now it's come down to this steel cage, baby. And this match was pretty decent for the most part. I do wish there was a bit more intensity, but they did go after each other at least, including some air spots. But ultimately the big story also within this match. But one thing also I want to mention. Escapes are no longer a way to win steel cage matches. Like at first, I thought the announcer made a mistake, saying you can only win the steel cage match by pinfall or submission. And so I'm like, oh, you forgot to mention escaping the cage. But then no, Vic Joseph pointed out in commentary, no, you can't win by escaping the cage anymore. Or when did that become a thing? And let me know. Like when did that become a thing? So what happens if you do escape the cage? Is like War Games where you're automatically disqualified? That kind of sucks. Why can't they escape the cage anymore? Or if anybody knows the answer to that, please enlighten me. Let me know. But also other big story. He is that Izzy Dame, which unfortunately I'm not quite sure who that is. Means probably I gotta watch more NXT, but she shows up and ultimately costs Roxanne Perez the victory. Kiana James does put away Roxanne and picks up the win here. So I'm guessing the feud between Roxanne and Kiana isn't over, or even though the steel cage is supposed to be the feud ender, but also also, I guess it's now Roxanne's also going to be feuding with Izzy Dame now as well. So Izzy Dame and Kiana James kind of have a alliance now, an alliance now, I should say. Grammar, what's that? But yeah, so win there, pretty okay for the most part. But then finally, in your main event for the NXT Championship, the Lone Wolf seeks to slay the Dragon and take the NXT Championship. But the only person who can defeat the Dragon is the Dragon himself. As Baron Corbin seeks to take the NXT Championship from Ilya Dragunov. Ultimately unsuccessful, but still pretty solid for the most part. Ultimately, Ilya Dragunov going off when it comes to Baron Corbin here. Still putting on a pretty solid match for the most part. Back and forth and everything. I knew Baron Corbin wasn't winning. Wasn't winning the match going in, but still a relatively impressive showing, I would say, against Ilya Dragunov. And but Dragunov does ultimately pick up the win on Corbin in here, and Dragunov whispers something to him before putting Corbin away. So Dragunov does retain here. Not quite as good as the Hayes matches, his matches with Carmelo Hayes, but still pretty solid. But speaking of which, the story also after this is that Trick Williams does show up afterwards to make his presence known and to let Ilya Dragunov know he's coming after him. But Carmelo Hayes is not too far behind for Trick Williams, and then it cuts off from there. NXT, you gotta stop doing these cutoffs. But it does further the story and kind of furthers the mystery. What is the true nature of the Trick Melo Gang alliance? So that is that. So a pretty solid show. But you knew it was gonna be solid from the opener. You thought I forgot, didn't you? That's because I kind of did. But nonetheless, Shawn Michaels shows up to greet the audience, and then CM Punk shows up. Shawn Michaels and CM Punk in the same ring. Now hell is truly frozen over. But yeah, so CM Punk taking a selfie with Shawn on not quite sure if it was scripted hit or not, but CM Punk teasing he'll go to Raw, maybe he'll go to SmackDown, maybe he'll show up in NXT. Granted, I don't think CM Punk is going to be in NXT, or at least as part of the NXT brand, but I do kind of want to see him have some matches in NXT, and he's not a total stranger to NXT. He did have one or two matches there, including some people brought up on I believe it was Twitter, him teaming with Seth Rollins in NXT. And man, how times have changed. But yeah, so. CM Punk showing up there, surprising the audience, was pretty cool. But otherwise, pretty solid show, I would say. For the most part. If I had to go with the strongest and weakest matches of the night, the strongest I'd probably go with the two Iron Survivor challenges. I was a bit skeptical of the match concept going in, but I think they pulled it off for the most part and made it pretty fun. It's not like the time limit. Thankfully, it didn't do what a lot of other like time limit type matches or like very much timed matches do, where the clock ultimately becomes like a hindrance and really bogs down the quality of the match. And thankfully that's not what happened, and I think the clock definitely did add to the intensity, and they definitely made it work. And even with my slight like nitpicks, I think the match still was really solid. The two matches were really solid, and the week is probably Hayes versus King and the steel cage, only compared to everything else on the card. But nevertheless, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. So this is the final, not only NXT Premium Live event for the year, but also the final WWE Premium Live event for the year. And I'd say they went out relatively strong. But nevertheless, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, turn on post notifications so you know every time I upload a video so you can see as soon as it drops. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts on this review. Did you like Select Deadline? Did you like my review Deadline? Let me know. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.